Nobody in the restaurant knew the shy waitress could speak a single foreign word, not even her boss, not even herself, not anymore. So when the millionaire at table 7 mocked her accent and switched languages to embarrass her, the entire dining room froze. Because the quiet girl everyone overlooked slowly lifted her head and answered him flawlessly in his own language, then another and another. By the time she finished, the millionaire, who never stuttered in his entire life, had no words left. Stick to this video to experience a story about courage, hidden talent, and unexpected kindness that might just touch your heart. And if it moves you, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories. The first thing people noticed about Ilara was how quietly she moved. Not timidly, not fearfully, just carefully, as if she were trying not to disturb the air around her. The restaurant, Lumière, was a place where everything shimmered. Glass, gold accents, velvet chairs, polished conversations. But Ilara drifted through it like a shadow, her hair wrapped in a modest bun, her uniform crisp, her eyes lowered just enough to avoid inviting questions. She liked it this way. Silence meant safety. Silence meant she wasn't noticed. And if she wasn't noticed, then her past, the one she guarded like a wound, couldn't catch her. When she spoke, her voice was soft, warm, but limited to essentials. Still or sparkling water? Would you like the tasting menu tonight? Your order will be right out. No flourishes, no personal details, never more than needed. Her co-workers whispered theories behind her back, because quiet people invited curiosity. She's hiding something. Maybe she doesn't know English that well. Or maybe she's just boring. Ilara heard every word. She understood, painfully well, that people often feared what they couldn't categorize. So she made herself smaller, invisible, unremarkable. Because the more languages you speak, the more careful you must be. And Ilara could speak all of them. But no one here knew that. Not yet. Across the city, in a private office overlooking a skyline glittering with ambition, Adrian Holt closed another deal worth more than most people would earn in several lifetimes. His voice was smooth, commanding, efficient. His gaze sharp. His suits custom. His schedule filled to the minute. Everyone knew his name. Founder of Holt Innovations, philanthropist when it looked good, bachelor by default, workaholic by habit. He lived a life built on success and meticulously maintained distance. Connection, he learned early, was a luxury he could not afford. His father, a titan of business, taught him that emotions were liabilities. His mother, a portrait on a wall, had left more silence than memories. So Adrian learned to fill the void with empire building, calculated charm, and the quiet belief that he would never be truly seen. Tonight, he needed a break, or at least his assistant insisted he did. "Try Lumière," she said. "It's refined, quiet, distraction-free." Quiet sounded good. Refined sounded familiar. And so, shortly after 7, Adrian stepped through the glass doors of the restaurant, tired, guarded, unaware that his routine night was about to unravel everything. Ilara noticed him instantly, not because he was handsome, though he was, in a polished, magazine cover way, not because he carried wealth like a second skin, but because he watched everything. Eyes that missed nothing were dangerous. And Adrian watched Ilara when she approached his table, not in a predatory way, not in entitled curiosity, but in quiet examination, as if trying to place her in a puzzle he didn't know he was solving. "Good evening," she said softly. "Welcome to Lumiere." Her voice surprised him, gentle but steady. He studied her a moment too long. "You'll be my server tonight?" he asked. "Yes." A simple word. Bare. Controlled. He didn't know why it intrigued him. She didn't know why it scared her. Their first exchange was brief, almost forgettable. Two strangers, each hiding something the other sensed but could not yet name. Yet something electric hummed beneath the silence, a tension, a recognition, a warning. Something was about to collide, and the universe exhaled as if preparing for impact.
Dinner service was steady, couples murmuring over wine, foreign tourists studying menus, the soft clink of cutlery filling the golden-lit air. Adrian watched everything with clinical detachment until he noticed a commotion at a nearby table. A French couple struggled to communicate with a flustered new waiter. "Non, non, pas ça," the woman insisted, frowning. "We asked for no shellfish," her husband added. "C'est dangereux." The waiter panicked. I'm sorry, I don't understand." Before Alara even realized she was moving, her feet were already carrying her toward them. Her voice slipped out like instinct. "Excusez-moi pour l'erreur, je vais corriger cela immédiatement." The couple's relief was immediate. "Ah, merci. Vous parlez français?" "Couramment," she replied with a shy nod. Adrian's head lifted sharply. That was not the voice of a timid waitress. That accent, perfect, native, effortless. But before he could process it, another table called out. A tourist from Beijing struggled to explain a dietary restriction. Another waiter attempted, badly. Alara turned, her voice switching seamlessly. 没关系，我会帮你。你有什么不能吃的吗? "It's all right. I'll help you." "What foods do you need to avoid?" The tourist's face brightened with relief. Adrian froze. French, Mandarin, flawless. Just seconds apart. Ilara's pulse thundered in her ears. She never revealed this. Never. Not anymore. But the room needed help, and muscle memory spoke. A Spanish family asked for the wine list. Portuguese guests struggled to pronounce a dish. An elderly man muttered in German about allergies, and Alara, panicked, breathing uneven, hands trembling, switched languages like a rainstorm switching direction. French, Spanish, German, Arabic, Italian, Russian. Each one perfect, smooth, native, impossible. The restaurant fell silent. Customers stared. Staff gaped. Adrian felt his chest tighten. This wasn't multilingual. This was something else, something extraordinary. When she turned back toward him, her cheeks flushed, her breath ragged, he finally understood. She hadn't wanted anyone to know. Not ever. And now everyone knew. Ilara's manager approached, bewildered. "Why didn't you tell us you could speak all that?" Ilara stepped back. It felt like the walls were closing in. I prefer not to." "Not to what?" he asked. "Ilara, this is incredible!" But she didn't look proud. She looked terrified. Adrian rose from his table, drawn to her panic like gravity. "Are you all right?" She nodded too quickly. "Yes, I just need a moment." He noticed her breathing, shallow, broken, her eyes glassy, her posture defensive as if bracing for impact from a past she couldn't escape. Quietly, he said, "You looked like you were in pain, not showing off." She turned away, whispering, "I... you don't understand." Her voice cracked. But he did, more than she realized. Hiding talent, carrying expectations, living behind armor. He recognized that fear. He lived in it. Their wounds, different yet similar, brushed against each other like exposed nerves. She stepped away from the dining room, her hands shaking violently. Not again, not again, not again. She had been exploited for this gift once, used, hunted, controlled. She swore she would never let it happen again. But now it was out. And Adrian saw everything. He watched her disappear into the hallway, and something inside him tightened painfully. A pull, a question, a warning. He didn't know her, but he wanted to, needed to. Because someone who carried that kind of fear behind such brilliance was someone worth understanding. If that reveal gave you chills, like this story and comment your reaction below and subscribe.
Ilara spent the next morning pretending nothing had happened. She arrived earlier than usual, hoping to avoid questions, stares, curiosity. But the moment she stepped into Lumiere, whispers rippled through the staff hall like wind through leaves. That was insane. Did you hear her speaking 15 languages? She sounded like she was born in all of them. Maybe she has superpowers. Her stomach twisted. Attention was the one thing she didn't know how to survive. Her manager beamed at her like he was his newly discovered treasure. "Ilara, the owner wants to talk to you." Panic punched her ribs. "No, please, I can't." "Ilara," he interrupted softly, "no one's angry. You might get promoted." Promotion, visibility, exposure, everything she feared. She swallowed and nodded, though her throat tightened like a fist. Maybe it was time to leave Lumiere, change her name again, disappear, like she had done before. Yet the thought burned. She liked it here, liked the routine, the quiet corners, the gentle hum of human conversations. Running again would destroy her. But staying felt impossible. Adrian tried to bury himself in work, spreadsheets, contracts, investor calls, but Ilara's face kept intruding, her eyes when she panicked, her voice in those shifting languages, her hands trembling afterward, her quiet strength despite her fear. He told himself it was simple curiosity. He had witnessed brilliance before, prodigies, innovators, linguists, but this was different. This wasn't performed. It was instinctive, uncontrolled, raw. And her fear, it wasn't theatrical. It was lived. He recognized trauma when he saw it. It lived in him, too. By afternoon, he gave up pretending he wasn't thinking about her. He booked a dinner reservation at Lumiere again, not because he needed dinner, because he needed answers. Ilara froze when she saw him walk in. Of all nights. He met her eyes across the room, not with judgment or arrogance, but with something gentler. Curiosity, concern, recognition. She forced her voice steady when she approached his table. "Good evening, sir. Welcome back." "Adrian," he corrected softly. "Please call me Adrian." She tensed. Names meant familiarity. Familiarity meant danger. "Mr. Holt is fine." He studied her closely. "You weren't here at the start of the shift. Are you all right?" "I'm working," she replied, too quickly. A lie he heard immediately. "Ilara, yesterday looked painful." Painful? He had noticed? She hated that. Her jaw tightened. "I don't want to talk about it." "Then we won't," he said gently. She blinked. People always pushed, pried, wanted more. But he stepped back the moment she built a wall. Strange, unsettling. She murmured, "Your order?"
"Whatever you recommend." A flustered breath escaped her, barely audible. It was a small moment, insignificant to the world, but it sent her heartbeat spiraling. Throughout the night, staff approached her. "Ilara, a table of Japanese tourists. Can you assist?" "Ilara, a Middle Eastern couple is struggling to understand the wine list." "Ilara, German businessmen have a question about the menu." Each request chipped away at her. Each language felt like reopening an old scar. Adrian watched the exhaustion forming under her eyes, the way her hands shook slightly each time she switched tongues. Anger bubbled in him. She wasn't a tool, not a novelty. She was drowning, and no one saw it but him. When her shift ended, she slipped outside into the cold night air, her breath shaky, her mind spiraling. A voice startled her. "Ilara!" She turned. Adrian stood by the corner of the building, hands in pockets, watching her with that same unreadable expression. "What do you want?" she whispered. "To make sure you got home safe." Her chest tightened painfully. "Why?" "Because you looked like you were about to collapse." She turned away, gripping her coat. "You don't know me." "You're right, but I'd like to." That frightened her more than anything. She shook her head. "I can't. I don't let people—" Her voice fractured. He stepped back, creating space. "I'm not asking you to." She looked up in shock. No pressure, no demand, just presence. "Good night, Ilara." He walked away first, and for the first time in years, she didn't want someone to leave. The next morning, Lumiere buzzed with chaos. A prestigious international business delegation had chosen the restaurant for a private luncheon. Leaders from 8 countries, no common language, media attention, high stakes. The manager rushed to Ilara in a frenzy. "Ilara, they specifically requested a multilingual liaison, someone who can bridge communication between all delegations." Her stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. I can't. You're the only one who can do this." She backed away. "No, please, I'm not—" He grabbed her hands. "Ilara, the owner is coming today. If we fail him, we all suffer." Her breath shattered, and then the doors opened. Adrian walked in, not as a customer, as the invited keynote speaker for the delegation. And when his eyes met hers, everything in the room stilled. Forced together, no escape, nowhere to hide. Ilara's past, Adrian's curiosity, their shared wounds, had just collided in the center of the room.
The massive round table glimmered beneath crystal lights. Delegates from around the globe unfolded papers. Translators scrambled. Confusion buzzed, until Ilara stepped forward. With trembling hands, she addressed the room in perfect English. "I'll be assisting with communication today." Then, like a quiet miracle, she shifted languages: Japanese, Arabic, Korean, French, Hindi, German, Spanish, Swedish, a full circle. Every delegate froze. Adrian's throat constricted. This wasn't simple fluency. This was fluency woven with emotion, voice-shifting tones, cadences changing, accents flawless. She wasn't performing. She was surviving. Ilara felt Adrian's gaze the entire time, like a steady hand between her shoulder blades, grounding her, anchoring her breath. She hated how much she needed that. After the luncheon, she escaped to the staff corridor, sinking onto a bench, shaking violently. Adrian found her a moment later. "You were incredible," he said softly. She squeezed her eyes shut. "Please don't say that." He knelt slightly to meet her lowered gaze.
Why does praise hurt you? Her breath trembled. It's not praise, it's pressure. She didn't realize she had said it out loud until his expression softened. Ilara, his voice gentled. You don't have to tell me anything, but you don't have to hide from me either. Her eyes glistened. People only see my languages, not me, never me. I see you, Adrian said. Her chest cracked open at the words. He meant them. He didn't know her past, didn't know her pain, but he saw her, quiet, strong, breaking, surviving. She tried to look away, but he touched her wrist gently, asking permission with his eyes. She didn't pull back. It was the smallest surrender and the most intimate thing she had done in years. Over the next hours, they worked side by side as the delegation continued its meetings. Adrian learned how she tilted her head slightly before switching languages, how she exhaled softly between transitions, how every foreign word cost her something invisible. At one point, she stumbled, the mix of exhaustion and stress catching up. He caught her elbow. You're shaking. I'm fine. You're not. She didn't deny it. Instead, she whispered, I don't know how to be seen without feeling hunted. Adrian inhaled sharply. He knew that feeling. All my life, people saw what I could give them, not who I was, and I let them. It was easier than being vulnerable. She looked at him, really looked at him. Two people who had never belonged anywhere, belonging slowly to the silence between them. It felt dangerous and safe and impossibly fragile. As the afternoon wrapped up, Adrian turned to her. Ilara, I'd like to see you again, outside this place. Her breath caught. Not from fear, from longing. But longing was dangerous. Longing pulled you out of hiding and made you a target. Her hand trembled. I can't. His jaw tightened. Because you don't want to? Because wanting is exactly the problem. She stepped back, and in her eyes he saw the heartbreak before she even spoke. People like you don't stay for people like me. Ilara, you don't understand. If I let you close, everything I've built to protect myself collapses. She turned away, her voice cracking. And I can't survive losing myself again. Adrian stood frozen, the truth landing like a blade. Her fear wasn't of him. It was of her own heart. And he had no right to demand what she couldn't yet give. Not yet. But the fracture between them had opened, and heartbreak was no longer a threat. It was already happening.
2 days later, Ilara didn't show up for work. Not for her morning shift, not for the luncheon, not for the evening rush. Her locker sat open, uniform folded neatly inside. A resignation note lay on the bench. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm sorry for the trouble. Please don't try to contact me. Ilara. Adrian read it 3 times before the words sank in. She was gone. Just like that. Running again. Disappearing. Vanishing into silence. He felt something inside him break wide open. Something he had spent years pretending he didn't need. Connection. Meaning. Someone who saw him. He crumpled the note in his fist, anger and fear mixing in a storm. No, he wasn't letting her vanish into shadows again. Not this time. Ilara sat on the floor of her small apartment, knees pulled to her chest, her suitcase half packed, tears streaming quietly. She hated this, hated running, hated hiding, hated the ache in her chest when she thought of Adrian's face. He was kind, steady, gentle. But gentle things break when held too tightly, and she had been broken enough for a lifetime. Her phone buzzed, the restaurant, her manager, co-workers, unknown numbers. She turned it face down and cried harder. She didn't want to disappear, but she didn't know how to stay. Adrian drove to Lumiere, to her apartment, to the nearby cafe, everywhere she might be. Nothing. His chest felt hollow, scraped raw. Finally, he stopped at a quiet overlook above the city, a place he often retreated when he needed clarity. He sat on the hood of his car, staring at the skyline. All his life, he had chosen safety over vulnerability, distance over intimacy, control over uncertainty. And it had made him wealthy, respected, admired, but hollow. Ilara had cracked that hollowness open with a single terrified breath. And for the first time in years, he knew what he wanted with painful clarity. A life that wasn't lived alone. He stood. Then go after her. His own voice startled him, but he meant it. He pulled out his phone, calling in every resource he had, not to track her, not to invade her privacy, but to find her safely. He didn't want to control her. He just couldn't let her believe she had to run from him. That night, as rain drummed softly on rooftops, Ilara heard a knock on her apartment door. Her heart froze. She approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. Adrian, not in a suit, not confident or polished, soaked, breathless, eyes filled with fear and something deeper. "Ilara," he said through the door, "please, just listen. Then I'll go if you want." Her hand trembled on the knob. Slowly, she opened the door. He stepped back, giving her space. "I'm sorry," he began. "Sorry if I pushed you. Sorry if my curiosity added to your fear. Sorry that the world keeps asking you to be more than you can bear." Her breath hitched. "But, Ilara, running won't protect you forever. You deserve a life where you don't have to hide the most beautiful parts of yourself." She shook her head, tears rising. "You don't understand. My past." He doesn't need to understand it, to respect it. Silence. Rain. Heartbeat. Then his voice broke. "I'm not here to claim you. I'm here because I don't want to lose you without telling you the truth." She looked up, eyes glistening. "What truth?" He swallowed. "That I care about you, more than I expected, more than I should, more than I know how to handle." Her walls trembled. She whispered, "I'm scared of you." He froze. "No," she corrected softly, "I'm scared of what you make me feel." Adrian stepped closer, just one step, and whispered, "I'm scared too." It was the first time he had admitted fear to anyone, ever. Their walls, built from abandonment, trauma, expectation, and silence, cracked, piece by piece. Ilara's breathing turned shaky. "All my life," she said, "people valued me for what I could do, not who I was. I was passed around like a tool,
a translator, a miracle to be owned. Adrian shut his eyes, pain carving across his face. Ilara, no one will ever own you again. Not while I'm alive. She pressed a hand to her mouth, sobbing softly. I left because I thought you'd want that too. He looked devastated. I want you. Not your languages, not your talent. Just you. She sank onto the couch, trembling uncontrollably. Adrian, slowly, painfully slowly, approached. May I sit? She nodded. They sat inches apart, both shaking, both terrified, both cracking open in the quiet. Finally, Ilara whispered, I don't know how to be loved. Adrian's voice broke. I don't know either, he confessed, but I'm willing to learn. With you. She turned her face toward him, shy, unsure, and heartbreakingly hopeful. Do you promise not to run when it gets hard? He nodded. Do you promise not to disappear when you get scared? He asked gently. Her eyes filled. I'll try, he said. For us, she echoed. He reached for her hand, not grabbing, not claiming, simply offering. She placed her hand in his, and for the first time in years, she chose not to run. Weeks passed. Ilara didn't quit Lumiere, but she set boundaries, strict ones. She would help with languages only by choice, not expectation. Adrian respected every one. Their connection deepened the way languages do, slowly, beautifully, with mistakes and apologies and unexpected fluency. One evening, as they walked through the city park, Ilara said, You know, speaking every language doesn't scare me anymore. Adrian smiled softly. What changed? She looked up at him, a hint of shy confidence in her eyes. I finally found someone who listened. He squeezed her hand gently. And I found someone who spoke to the part of me that's been silent my whole life. She leaned into him. He armed her around him. Two wounded hearts finally heard. And in that quiet, breathless moment, Ilara realized something powerful. She had spoken to him in every language on earth, but the only one that changed them both was love. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment your feelings, and subscribe for more emotional storytelling.